Good morning. Today is October the 18th of 2019, which is a Friday. Yom Shishi. Learning my Hebrew here. We're going to look at the news really quick and just talk about it for a second. It's about noon, by the way. It's an article published in the WashingtonExaminer.com. Washington Examiner, clearly, but online. Drudge Report had it posted today. And I guess it's like that time of year, so. Written by Tim Pierce. Hillary Clinton says Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset, groomed to ensure the Trump re-election. Hillary Clinton said that Republican Tulsi Gabbard is being groomed by Moscow to run as a third-party spoiler candidate in 2020 to help President Trump win re-election. The former Secretary of State pushed the theory on Campaign HQ podcast hosted by David Plouffe, President Barack Obama's campaign manager in 2008. So kind of like a Ross Perot thing. Back in the, what was that, 92, when Ross Perot was running, I actually went to one of his huge rallies down in, it was right near Oceanside, so San Diego. Huge. It was right before he dropped out. No, it was right after he came back. And it did kind of throw the election, I think, to Clinton. Whatever. Plouffe and Clinton discussed the hurdles the Democratic nominee would face and compared the 2020 race to Clinton's loss to Trump in 2016. Plouffe asked Clinton about the third-party candidates such as Jill Stein and the Green Party played in 2016, allowing Trump to secure key states. Right. You guys remember the, I can't even remember his name right now. He was a candidate who came in and he was kind of popular with the conservatives at first. He was a major pot grower. I'm drawing a total blank here too. It was the same idea. They always try to do this. Is Moscow behind it? I mean, anybody who wants Trump to win probably wants Tulsi to run too. Okay. That's just the game, you know? She's right. Okay, so they're also going to do third party again, Clinton 71 said. I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who is currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be a third party candidate. Clinton said, referring to Gabbard without mentioning the Hawaii representative by name. Does anybody remember 4 years ago? Gabbard took like a lot of heat for supporting Bernie Sanders. And even back then in interviews, people were saying like, are you afraid? Like, are you scared? And do you remember when Bernie Sanders dropped out and the same progressive followed him like right within like a week after not even a week. I want to say it was less than a week after he dropped out. She went to see him. I was out. Where is she at? I want to say New Hampshire. I think I have the state wrong. But she went to see him and she was like trying to catch him on film and he was avoiding her, but it looked like he had a bruised face. I remember that. I always said that to me, Tulsi reminds me of JFK, and they kind of did this little thing with JFK too. There was, you know, where there was a Cuban Missile Crisis, but it was like, you know, he had to. It's like a balance of powers. You've got China, you have America, you have Russia, and America is always going to be on the Russian team or the Chinese team, so to speak. I mean, not that they're not making concessions to the other one, but they kind of have to, like, you know, favor one or the other, and different candidates favor different ones. And so sometimes, you know, the Clintons have always been China, right? So, okay, so Clinton says that they're going to do it third party again, 71. I'm not making any, says Clinton 71. I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently right. So, maybe. Honestly, I mean, like I said, it's one or the other. It's Russia or China. Take your pick. We're playing politics, right? Now, there's a lot of talk right now that, I was looking at this, that Trump is, like, people actually really think he's going to get impeached this time. I don't think so. I think this is going to sound like a whack theory, but I'm going to tell you what it is. I think that Trump's enthusiasm about holding on to the job is lagging, and it's playing out. Just saying. And who could blame him? I mean, I don't want Bernie in. He already showed me. It's not his fault. I might have done the exact same thing, but he's not up to it. It takes someone who's either such a sociopath that they're not afraid of losing their children or their livelihood or their reputation or anything. They're really not afraid because they have enough arrogance to do that. It's kind of like Age of Aquarius stuff, you know? It takes someone who's that arrogant, right? Or someone who's completely unafraid and uninhibited. Maybe like Oprah Winfrey, right? But no matter what, I'm going to be honest with you. I would rather have a reformed sociopath in the White House or as a judge or anywhere, because my experience is their temperament is colder, and if they're able to make moral decisions and they're reformed, then, you know, you're better off than with somebody who's untempered or who runs hot, to be honest with you. But it takes somebody who's got you really can't give a shit. If you really give a shit about stuff, you're going to end up like JFK, the way things are now. Okay? Oprah could pull it off. She'd be like a more charismatic Jimmy Carter. The only thing is I don't think it's Oprah's... No, people are going to disagree. I don't think she should run this time. I think we got to finish out Trump. And I have my reasons. It is. We'll talk about that, what my reasons all are later on, but I think it's appropriate, and I think we need to finish it off, because I think if we don't, we are never, ever, ever going to get closure on what happened with 9/11, with any of it. I mean, like, true closure, like, is never going to be 100%, but I think there's certain things that we're not going to know about. Maybe ever. But we might know some of them if he stays in office. Just saying. And if they were just going to push him into war, they could have done that the first term. And if they're going to do it the second term, they're going to do it no matter who's in there. I say leave him in. I know. People aren't going to agree, but it's okay. You don't have to. Okay, so... You know, it's the normal. It's the normal. It's the normal. It's the normal. I mean, never mind Bill Clinton in Kazakhstan. Never mind. Never mind. Everybody knows that this is all stuff that they have to do, right? Just saying. Okay. I've got another article I pulled up here. I love this one. This one is This one was also in the Drudge Report today, and it's nextgov.com, emerging tech. Argonne team looks to insect brains as models for computer chip innovation. It's got a really cute picture of a bumblebee here, too. It's the latest buzz in artificial intelligence. Ironically, I was just thinking about this morning. You know, I have a theory that maybe, I mean, I don't know, but what if the reason why we might not see the millennial reign come is because it comes very small, right? And if you can't see that small, you just aren't going to be able to see it. I don't know. I'm serious. What if, right? What if we all get to be bugs one day? The size of bugs, does it matter? If our ego's not an issue. I mean, Reepicheep was good proud, right? From the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The little rat. You know, what's wrong with being a bug? bug-sized. You could live for a really long time. I was thinking about the ant people too, because a friend of mine, Bartley, did a video on it, and I was like, you know, ants are pretty smart, and the Bible does sort of advocate to go and study their ways and look and see what they do, and it seems to be that they know God. I don't know. I don't know. I would volunteer personally. Honey, I Shrunk the entire people of the earth. Our pollution would go down. So many of our problems would be solved. We could clone ourselves and take turns in different bug bodies if we wanted to have multiple husbands, but not have to use different bodies for them. I don't know. It could be immoral. We'd have to find out and look at the law. But, you know, I'm not so sure it would be. So I was thinking about it, though, and I was like, maybe humans did in the future go down and interface with the minds of bugs. And then I thought, wow, what if they became the ant people, and what if they travel in time and we see them now and they are space travelers and they're us in the future? I don't know. Or maybe we just take different forms. Maybe they're, who knows? Whoever knows, right? I just like to play games of pretend here. You guys think what you want. But this is a very interesting idea, and I think it's a really good way to, I think ultimately a computer chip that had AI that could boost your brain power, that would be interesting. That would be real interesting. The only thing about it would be that if your brain got lazier in an area because of it, it wouldn't be so good. So you'd almost want to do like a tiny little like shock system to stimulate it. And a shock therapy. Scientists at the Energy Department's Argonne National Laboratory have pioneered a cutting-edge neuromorphic computer chip modeled off the brains of bees, fruit flies, and other insects that can learn rapidly, adapt, and use substantially less power than the conventional computer chip counterparts. The physicists leading an interdisciplinary team that developed the state-of-the-art design recently spoke at NextGov about the chip's potential to advance artificial intelligence. If we start from a biology standpoint, we use ourselves, humans, as a model for intelligent systems, of course, but there are many other branches that evolution has taken you where you can sort of reach big computational power. Angel Yang Guas Gill, principal material scientist in Aragon's Applied Material Division, said, insects are one of these areas. Excuse me for a moment. Limitations in contemporary computing motivated the team to look for alternative scientific approaches to apply the microelectronics and the material that makes them up. Over the past 70 years, humans have gotten much better at making physical computing components, and it's at a point where it's becoming difficult to continuously improve physical devices, he said. Do you know that my mom always said this, but it's true apparently. My great-grandfather helped invent microfiche, the tiny, tiny little things that you see, you know? Co-invent. Not that he was the main one or anything, but he worked with the government. Tiny things, tiny things. Personal devices are simultaneously getting smaller and smarter, and industry watchers anticipate an impending boom in smart sensors that will require less power to compute. And machine learning and deep neural networks are also evolving, but Yangus Gill noted they are generally narrowly trained and limited in flexibility. But where AI and computing systems fail short, Okay, so here we go. The point is here, guys, I'm going to read this next paragraph and we're done with the boring stuff. I tend to see an insect as an autonomous, I know how to say the word, I just forget sometimes, system that consumes milliwatts of power, and that, in the case of the bee, they can go for miles and come back. They are essentially know their way in and their way back, and they can solve problems, and they dance to give directions. They can learn tasks that they haven't been exposed to, even from an evolutionary standpoint. Evolution has been very ruthless to insects, and people have come to understand that smart insects starve sooner because they consume more energy. Why not make a treaty with the insects? This essentially allows insects to compute things while consuming just a teeny tiny amount of power. Further, insects also integrate many different sensing inputs, have receptors for different types of chemicals, can process wind and orient themselves based on sunlight, and some can sense the magnetic field. They all can sense it. So with very few neurons, they are sensor heavy and they are power efficient, and they can operate in a very noisy environment, apparently very proficiently. The physicist added that when researchers looked aspirationally at the human brain, difficulties arise because of so many neurons. So complicated in here, right? A bee, on the other hand, has 1 million neurons, and a fruit fly has 1,000. Hives, well, they share a hive brain, but so do humans. And our hive brain has been getting turned it's been off, getting turned on in the collective consciousness. So what then you have is the stores of the living memory are all accessible to us, but we are now able to use all those extra neurons, right? Alright guys, well that's it for the chip. I think it's a great and interesting idea, especially if you were going to do space travel. Like if I was going to do space travel, I would shrink down to an insect size. It's really not that much of a difference. I would somehow find a way to like partner with the bugs and the AI, and I would make some kind of suit with like the whole, the whole thing. You go off into space that way, it seems like it would be, easier on everybody. You'd make tiny, tiny little rocket ship. The cost would be tiny, right? You get down there, you make it out of tiny little stuff, and then, bam, fly off in your tiny rocket ship. Why do you need a big one? You don't. Just saying. The future's in smallness. Alright. There's one other article. The Cayman Islands. Mr. Dart has been buying up the Cayman Islands. The mysterious Mr. Dart. Where they do mysterious bank exchanges and whatnot offshore, down below Cuba. And it keeps getting flooded. And he bought out the entire islands, guys. So I thought I might discuss why. Why would the mysterious, here next to the fireplace, why would the mysterious Mr. Dart choose such a location as Cuba? Right below Cuba. Here's the Cayman Islands, kids. Don't worry, I'm younger than you. And then down here is South America. This is North America. Here's kind of how we rotate on our axis right now. There is a, there's a magnetic north, right? And then there's a geographic north, and they're not really lined up right now. But the geographic north and the magnetic north, once, it is said, long ago, rotated around, well, let's just show you. You see the Hudson Bay. Already it's moving. The magnetic north is moving around, right? It kind of goes like, The idea is that you move these guys over, and possibly some recentering that we're not completely going to go over right here in this video. Where the Hudson Bay is, there's some strange readings that they get when they put like instruments that read magnetics there, and it's because this was the alternate spot, and you see how it kind of dips in and there's this water here and everything. Now tip the Earth on its axis, bam. Now you got the new axis, right? So from this new axis, you put Cuba, instead of being closer to the equator, it's farther from the equator, right? A lot of people are, a lot of the elite are getting homes and stuff here in South America, which will be on the equator right here. Now, we're going to see how this one turns out in the end. I'm getting a phone call. I think that's my buddy here. Cecilia. So we'll talk to you guys later. Wait, let me look mysterious. Have a good day. Have a good day. Who knows what the future brings? Pray for the president regardless. You want him to make good decisions, right? Amen.